Yo, Shortbox Nation, hello again. Welcome back, and thanks for pressing play today. If you're brand new, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Bader Milligan, and this is the Shortbox Podcast, the comic book talk show where we bridge the gap between the panels of your favorite comics with the people who make said comics, right? The people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into making them. This is episode 501, which makes this the official start of season 11. You guys know the deal by now. Every 50 episodes marks a new season of the Short Box. And we're starting this new one off in a big, proper way, okay? We got the return of Mike Del Mundo on the show, all right? For those of you who've been asleep for the last couple of years, Mike Del Mundo is an award-winning Marvel cover artist. He made his Short Box debut last year on episode 469, which feels like a lifetime ago as we enter 501. But he's back on the show, all right? He's back on the pod to talk about the upcoming release of his first ever art book. The Marvel Art of Mike Del Mundo is being released through CovrPrice. It was initially launched last year as a Kickstarter campaign. It was wildly successful, to put it lightly, and it's getting a general release to comic shops later this summer. I think July 1st, but who knows? It might be pushed out, but it's coming soon, all right? Mike also has two new sci-fi fantasy one-shots that he's doing the interior artwork for, which I think deserves its own celebration. We get some new comics by Mike Del Mundo of interior art. I mean, come on now. They're coming out on Dark Horse Comics. Foundation is the first one shot. It'll be in comic shops on July 8th. And then you got Shift, which will be available on September 2nd. Both of these one shots tell the beginnings of the Three Worlds, Three Moons. It's the collaborative sci-fi fantasy universe created by Jonathan Hickman, Nick Spencer, obviously Mike Del Mundo's involved, and Mike Huddleston. All right, this has been it's been on Substack. All right, it was born on Substack. It's been on Substack for a while. It's finally getting a general release later this summer, like the dates I just mentioned. So we got a lot to talk about, and because it's Mike Del Mundo, you know that we'll be talking about hip hop this episode. So we got plenty to cover today. But before we get started on that, I want to give special recognition to our amazing sponsors who help us keep the lights on. All right. Big shout out to our presenting sponsor, CovrPrice.com. They are the CovrPrice.com, the ultimate comic book price guide and collection management tool for comic collectors. CovrPrice does all the hard work of telling you what your collection is worth right now. Get CovrPrice for $1 for 1 month by using the special promo code in this episode's show notes. Just click the link in the show notes and enjoy using CovrPrice.com for 1 month for $1. And we can't talk about sponsors and not show some love to Gotham City Limit Comic Shop. It's the best comic shop in Northeast Florida. It's my local comic shop. If you live in Jacksonville like I do, you can go visit them today on Southside Boulevard, or you could just buy comics from them online at GothamCityLimit.com. Those are our sponsors. They're great. Big shout outs to CoverPrice.com. Big shout outs to Gotham City Limit. And of course, big shout outs to the Patronis, all right? The loyal supporters over on the Shortbox Patreon. You guys are the best. Now, without further ado, let's bring on our guest of honor today, dropping a new art book, showcasing some of the finest covers who ever graced Marvel Comics. You can quote me on that. Let's give it up for Mike Del Mundo, everybody. What up, Mike? How you doing? Welcome back, man.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yo, how you feeling today? How you doing today?
Feeling pretty good. I mean, aside from the allergies, seasonal allergies.
Oh, yeah, they're here in full force.
Yeah, it feels like it's like the worst year ever. But I popped a few antihistamines, so I'm good. Yeah.
Don't fall asleep on me, Mike. I need you just for a strong 45.
No, it definitely doesn't affect my drowsiness.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. Although, I think a few days ago I had a drink downtown, and I forgot I took one, and that messed me up for some reason. It got me really sleepy and all that stuff.
I think if you look on the pill bottle, it says not to mix alcohol with the medication.
Yeah, I just had one drink, I didn't realize.
It always starts like that. Mike, what's you got a watering hole? You got a go-to bar that you like going to?
No, I'm not like a frequent bar guy. I was actually just met up with a couple art friends. So that was a sporadic moment. Usually we're just kind of stuck, isolated in this cave,
Yeah, it's a very very lonely career you got. I guess how often do you meet up with other art friends, or are you always at least maybe emailing, texting, stuff like that?
Yeah. No, we like. I think the main artist that I talk to a lot is Sanford Green. So he's all
Cool.
the way up in South
Yep.
Carolina. So, but whenever we get a chance, we'll talk online, and yeah, it's a nice conversation about comics, our hip hop debates. Get into it
Ooh.
pretty hard.
What's the last
Um,
like big hip hop debate y'all had?
oh man, we get into it, bro. Because I can't remember the last thing, but we debate a lot because I guess like we're different generations of hip hop.
Hmm.
So he's a bit older and he's grown up with like the LLs and the Rakims.
Sure, yeah, the
I'm
golden
more
age.
like the
Like
93 and up. So
yeah,
like
this the
Nas
second
and
golden age. Like you can't go wrong with either or.
yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah.
guess it is with hip hop being so young. I do think like those minor year differences do play like a big part, right? Like I came
Mhm.
in like in 2004, 2005, but I started like in the mid '90s stuff. So like Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, and then I kind of did my homework backwards. And I'm actually wearing a Rakim shirt, but like
Mhm.
I did like the homework of Rakim and all of like those other like like that second wave. I think LL and them are, the Def Jam era was like kind of the
Yeah,
second wave. Before that was
yeah.
like the Cold Crush Brothers, Grandmaster Flash and all that.
Yep. Yeah, same thing. I went back. I went back and did my homework. Rakim actually was like it was huge because when we were breaking, a lot of his music was part of
Oh,
you know, part of like the dance. So
mm-hmm.
that's how we got accustomed to like that's how I got accustomed
Yeah.
to Rakim and just started going back into his albums. Yeah.
Mike, I know that we talked about your b-boy origins the last year when you were on the pod, but I don't know if I ever had a chance to ask you, what are some of your favorite, I guess, what was some of your favorite songs to break dance to? Like, was there any particular songs that you were like, yo, this is my jam, this is why I go all out?
Yeah, like anything by like James Brown, like Get on
Mm.
the Good Foot.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Apache, that's everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, there's this one track that all the B-boys know, Babe Ruth
Hmm. Oh,
by,
let me see.
shoot, man, by the Mexican, I believe.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I pulled it up right here. I'm gonna play it just through my hold up from 1972. And of course, Google is taking the longest time to try to load this goddamn video. It's wondering if I'm a robot. I'm not. Oh, let me see if it'll play.
Yeah, so it's the Mexican by Babe Ruth, and like
Hmm.
that, it's a crazy track.
I definitely am familiar with this sample for sure. Okay. Man, I think last episode, my man DJ B Ryan. Shout outs to DJ B Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. I'm sorry. This got like really good. Yeah, man. My man DJ B Ryan, I'll never forget going to, this was years ago. He was part of this group called the Little Green Apples, and they were a DJ crew. B-boys were involved, and they threw like this super dope event called Summer in the City, or it was part of like the Summer in the City event. And he was spinning. They had B-boys on this stage dancing, and I mean the mix that he played was incredible. Like at the time, I thought I knew about like these like these deep soul cuts and funk cuts, but like getting into the b-boy like side of hip hop and like exploring like such a like the really deep cuts when it comes to like funk and soul and the stuff that's a
Yeah.
little more upbeat, that's more danceable. It's like a whole different world out there.
Yeah, it's that's another thing. Like you said, you went back and you did your knowledge on like Eric B and
Mm-hmm.
Rakim. Like as a b-boy, like we got exposed to like all of the deep cuts, like funk and soul, all the stuff from the '70s,
Yeah.
this and that. So yeah, I mean it was pretty nice to grow up in that time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, we hit the ground running. I look. This won't be the last time that we talk hip hop or music, but I want to shift gears because preparing for this episode, it had me a little nostalgia. I went back to our first episode, and the big talking point that episode, you came on the show to promote the Kickstarter for the Marvel art book. I'm sorry, the Marvel Art of Mike Mundo, your first ever art book that was being put out by CloverPrice. At the time, the Kickstarter hadn't even launched. I think I dropped the episode the same day that the Kickstarter launched. So I was like
Really?
kind of tuned. Yeah, I was like tuned in. I think, to help the promotion out and,
Yeah.
get the word out, which, I mean, if I'm being honest, you needed no help from me for that
Mm.
Kickstarter to be successful. It's been 9 months now since the Kickstarter campaign for the art book ended. It ran for a month, I think mid-August to like mid-September is when it ended. And if I remember correctly, it was your first Kickstarter campaign. I think you were just a little nervous about like what to expect. You had like talked to a bunch of other people that did Kickstarters, so you were like, going to experience this for yourself. And you were, I think, at the time, just like, hey, if we hit our goal, I'm more than happy. I'm gonna be humble about it. Well, if you go on the Kickstarter webpage now, it says 975 backers pledged $143,465 to help bring this project to life. I don't remember what the initial goal was, but I remember getting a message from someone on YouTube saying, yo, you just dropped this episode. The Kickstarter is 20 minutes in and it's already double what they initially had. Can you take me back to last August and tell me what you experienced for your first Kickstarter? What was that like?
It was a it was a relief. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but I did, like, I did have a feeling that like we would do well just because we were working with CovrPrice, and
Mhm.
CovrPrice has done like 8 books before that, so they kind of had
And they're
the,
still
you
pumping
know,
them out, man. They're killing
yeah.
it. I think they
So
got
they
a Mike.
figured out
I'm sorry. I think they just announced a Mike Zeck art book they're putting
Mike
out, which
Sack.
looks amazing.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's amazing. Like they're beautiful books, and working with Hank, which was the lead on the Kickstarter stuff and the Marvel Artbook stuff. I just had confidence. Like he was always like, he kind of, I don't, for some reason this guy doesn't show any fear. He's very chill, calm, and I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, Hank seems like we're gonna do well. We're gonna do well. But yeah, I did have a lot of confidence in the fact that they do have this Kickstarter thing down to a science.
Yeah, they do.
So, but it was still surprising. It was surprising to see the amount of subscribers or people
Yeah, the
that
backers.
bought into the book, the backers. And I was kind of really thankful because like it's not just the fans and like the hardcore like readers of art, but all, like, the whole community came and like supported, like my
Mm-hmm.
family, my friends, like
Cool.
people I'd never think, so that was really nice to see.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I looked at the just know this, Mike. Your boy spent a grip to get a nice that, like, I forgot what tier I was on, but I was like, nah, this is his first art book. I just finished recording you with you. I was like, man, that was one of the best interviews I had. Let me show some like big love on this. So I forgot what tier I signed up for, but I remember thinking like I really fuck with Mike the Mundo, if it gets.
Oh,
So
thanks, man.
I'm looking forward to getting my book. I checked on the Kickstarter today, and that's the thing about Kickstarter. It's one of those things where I got to be careful because I'll like support and back a lot of campaigns, and then it's kind of like I already know it's going to take a while. It's not
Yeah.
like a overnight thing. It takes
Yep.
time. There's the production, the shipping, all that stuff. So I'll tend to like just kind of forget it. And this was kind of the case. I was like, wait, did I already get my art book? Is it one of these like in one of these boxes that's piling up in my room? And I was like, okay, not yet. I checked the Kickstarter today. You guys had a post a couple of days ago that you guys got the printed proofs in. Next steps are
Mm.
actually going to be production and then fulfillment. I know that you're probably hands off on that part. But I guess what's that part of the process been like? Because I hear from a lot of different creators that it's one thing. It's very nerve wracking to launch the Kickstarter, to promote it. You're spending a lot of time promoting it, hopping on podcasts, doing news interviews, blah blah blah, and then it ends. But that's not the last bit of work. Now comes like even more work with the production, the fulfillment.
Mhm.
What's that been like?
It's been pretty good on our part. You said you've heard a lot of people with like just having, it's just talking about how much work
Even more work it is
it
just
takes,
like
right?
after it's successful.
But because we've been working with the publisher CloverPress, like I said, it's like they have it down to a science, so they have their designers ready
Okay.
to go. The hardest part for us was me and Jay had to just pick the covers, like
Hmm.
what's going to go into the book. So the
Yeah.
toughest part was like I wanted to squeeze everything in there, so we'd have to do a lot of like adding and subtracting, and
Yeah.
then I'd do some new covers that I'm like, yo, these covers have to go into this book. So
Damn.
there's a lot of covers from even 2026 that I did.
Hmm.
That's like we're like last minute putting them in because I'm like, yeah, they got to go in because this might be the only book, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
If you would you say that you have enough material for how many more books? Like enough material for one more book, or like I can crank out three more of these type art books with what I got left.
well, I think maybe another book, but like this book was the one that encompassed 15 years
Nice.
of it.
Yeah.
And we really like went in and was like, these are the bangers. Let's just put all the
Yeah.
bangers in there. Kind of
Y-
treated it like a mixtape, you know, just
You know what?
yeah.
I think the mixtape comparison is good, but I'll do you one better. It's almost like you just dropped your first album. You know how I think about this I think about this Jay-Z quote when he was pardon me. I'm thinking about this Jay-Z quote that he said. It was like this Reasonable Doubt interview, and he was like, Reasonable Doubt was it was 15 years. It was 15 years of my life. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I think that's safe to say for any artist that puts out like their first album. Like your whole
Hmm.
life is leading up to that point. Like that first album encompasses your entire life up to that point. And I think it's probably safe to say for you too, like 15 years of like being in the industry, and you get to like, and you're trying what sounds like this colossal task of crystallizing 15 years worth of work. Um,
Yeah.
I
It's
got
not a it's not a bad thing, right? Now I just got to choose from it all.
Yeah. Now, I want to give you and Jason Sorrenti, your homeboy, Jason Sorrenti. Sorrenti? Is that how you say it? Sorrenti?
Sorrenti, I think. Yeah.
Sorrenti. Big
Yeah.
shout outs to Jason because he was kind enough to send me a PDF version of the art book. I've been going through it, and what I like about it so far is that it does have a linear aspect to it. Like it starts off with your X-Men Legacy covers, and
Yeah.
now I'm in like the Elektra phase, which is special to me because that's when I found out about you. That's when I like became a big fan. So I
It's
do like
cool.
so far the linear kind of timeline aspect of it, going through your career from the beginning and so forth. I couldn't help though, man. I'm one of these types where I like reading I like a good introduction or a good forward,
Okay.
and the art book has both of those things. It's got an introduction
Okay.
by you, where you're talking about just inspiration, the support you've had throughout the years through friends and family, art teachers and colleagues, and how that like really inspired you. So I'm gonna pause here and ask my first question. You mentioned how much of an influence your dad was in your art journey. Like he was a pretty decent, he was a pretty good artist himself. You mentioned like remembering the first time he drew, I think like the TMNT or something like that, how that had a profound effect on you. Has your dad seen the book yet? Like, what's he think about you getting your own art book?
Um, I think, damn, yeah. I don't think he's seen like the book yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows that we're doing something. Um, yeah. So he hasn't even seen what I wrote about it, so he's gonna be surprised.
Oh, that's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah,
awesome. That's gonna
yeah,
be
yeah,
wow. That's gonna be a moment, man. That's gonna be great.
yeah,
So great introduction by you, and then you've got a foreword by Scotty Young. He writes like it's almost like a 2-page foreword, just giving you insane, glowing praise in like that very tongue-in-cheek kind of jokey manner that he's known for. How did that come about? Like, are you and Scotty pretty young? Was it like, did you approach him or vice versa?
yeah. I approached him. I said, "What the heck, man? Like, I love Scotty. I mean, he's kind enough to do this. I just hit him up and was like, would you be able to do this?" And he was like, he was excited. So, yeah, I've known Scotty for, man, for years now. So, no, it was, it's hard to take in because like Scotty is like one of my idols, you know, since like 2000, I don't know, early 2000s, going to San Diego and showing my portfolio to him. And
Yeah,
then now he's this guy that's like giving me all this praise. So it's really tough to like
that's
take it
dope.
in, you know.
Yeah.
But
What,
so it's so nice, yeah.
Remind me again, what was the comic that you drew? You drew your kids in there, but you also drew in like a map that his kids did, or what was the story behind that one?
So this was for a Strange Academy, and then
Yes.
he
Okay.
wrote about the Weird World, which is the book that me and
Mm.
Jason Aaron
Hmm.
did. And there's this crude map in Weird World So initially in the book that me and Jason Aaron did, we did these like crude maps that like were given to like the main character, and they would have to like kind of take it apart and try to make their way through this world,
Mm-hmm.
looking at this map that just doesn't make sense. It's like looks like it's drawn by like a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we got to Strange Academy and Scotty wanted to revisit it again, I was like, why don't I just get my kids to do it, since it's like, a
Yeah,
child map. So it was fun. Like I just got my kids to just
that's cool.
do whatever they wanted. So it was like a
Mm.
full out. We actually one of my only original pieces is
Oh,
this
that's
map.
badass.
But yeah,
Man, it seems like art is a family affair for you. If I recall correctly, your kids also made another appearance in like this Marvel interview video, or this video that they put up on their YouTube channel where they're interviewing you. And I think in the middle of you like talking about your process, like you can hear your kids in the back playing, and you're like, "Oops." Like, do y'all need me to cut that out? But they kept it in. I thought that was a smart decision on their part. But you talk about like your kids being involved, your dad playing such an inspiration. I think last time we talked, our last episode, you revealed like your dad has posed for a ton of like has been like a model for a lot of like the covers that you'll do. It, I guess like what about your mom? Your mom was a teacher, right? Like was she an art teacher or a history teacher?
your mom, my mom, sorry, my mom was a math teacher.
Math teacher. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think
And
about
I,
your career?
she's probably proud of it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But yeah, she's the one that actually like was always putting in my head that it's like, because there's times during, like my high school and during even college where I wasn't focused on drawing. Like even during high school, it was b-boying and all that. And I think from what she used from what she told me was she wanted to be a painter. Like that was one of the things that she wanted to do. But I guess there was no options like that back in the days. It was like go get a job that
Sure.
makes money.
Support the family.
But she would always, ever so often be like, waste the talent, waste the talent.
Hmm.
So that got in my head actually during college. I remember hearing that in my head and being like, I'm going to revisit this. So, meeting the group of guys that I met in college and that drew comics. And I was just like, that kind of like spiraled into my decision to just go
Yep.
at this 100%,
Oh yeah, now look at you. You
Yeah.
got this fancy art book coming out, fully backed on Kickstarter. I think it's cool that it's getting the general release. If I'm to understand it right, that the backers will be getting theirs in the next couple of weeks, maybe in the next month or so, and then the general release in comic shops, I guess, is going to align pretty closely to that. Is that right?
Sorry, say it again.
And I might be completely off kilter, so if this is not right, we can always edit this out. But is the art book getting a general release to comic shops?
Yeah, there's a retail version.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
gonna be a pretty sweet cover as well.
I do like all
Did
the
they show
different
that
covers.
cover already?
I think
Uh,
I think Lunar has what, the Wolverine cover.
so there's gonna be a Wolverine cover for that's the
Yep.
Kickstarter version, and then
Let me see.
the retail version will have the Mystique X-Men cover.
Oh, that one is such a
Yeah,
great cover, man. Yeah, I
yeah,
see it here, right here. So
yeah.
Direct Market gets the Mystique X-Men cover. There's the Wolverine cover. I'm kind of beating myself up that I didn't get the Elektra cover, but I think I got like the sweet Miles Morales slipcase tier cover one. So,
Oh yeah,
reg-
I
yeah,
think that might come with it. I'm not sure. I
sign me up.
think that might have come with the dust jacket. Yeah,
Oh, dope.
yeah.
One other thing to note that I wanted to say about the art book is that there is a companion sketchbook that you did for this, that if you read it in unison, you'll be able to see in the Marvel Art of Mike Del Mundo book, we'll have the finished, published cover, and then the sketchbook will same exact pages, almost mirrors the pages. You'll have the rough drafts, the thumbnails, the covers that didn't make it, and I
Mhm.
think that is such a cool look inside of your artistic process to have it like all bared out. And I gotta say, man, some of the covers that were left on the cutting room floor, I mean, those alone, I mean, these are like thumbnails and rough sketches are amazing. I guess I
Thank you.
like the Deadpool illustrated covers. There's one page in particular where, in the official art book, it's that the published cover where it's, I think I forgot the name of the character in the front. Sawyer, something Sawyer.
Oh, Tom Sawyer.
Thank you so
Is
much.
it
I think
Tom
it's like,
Sawyer
is it Tom Sawyer? Or is it
or Huckleberry? I
Huckleberry
don't
Finn, Tom Sawyer? One of those guys,
One of
one of
them.
those kids
Yeah.
is on the cover and he's fishing out like Deadpool from this river, and Deadpool's got the missile launcher. But then you see the thumbnail and you've got like four different versions of different ways that Deadpool is planning to blow up this kid with a missile launcher. And it's just interesting to see like where you landed and how like the final thing came about it. I guess personally speaking, when do you know like a cover is perfect or done or right for the job? Like how much decision making goes into like picking the right one?
It's just a feeling. It's like what gets me excited. Like if this is the cover that gets me really excited and that I want to be published, then I just go for broke on that one. But back in the days, like during the Deadpool days or even the X-Men Legacy days or the Lecture days, I was just doing like hundreds of ideas and sketches. I think I was just trying to be as ambitious as possible. But also, I guess I was just like second guessing a lot of things. And I was like, okay, if I do enough ideas, all of these should amount to something. Because I do remember when I send those ideas in, when I sent those ideas into to Marvel, I didn't send anything that I didn't want to draw. So if I sent like 10, 10 thumbnails,
You were all
all of
like
them
good
would have
for it.
been all of them would be good for it. Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
because I've made the mistake of sending something that's like, yeah, they're not gonna pick this, and then they
Yeah.
pick it. So um but yeah, that's the thumbnail stage is like my favorite stage out of like the whole process.
Yeah. I could
It's
definitely
just the
tell you.
easiest. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you're having a lot of fun with them. Like they're loose, they're a little more energetic. I think some of the
Mm,
concepts are a little more bold, a little more brave. I think
yeah.
to quote something that Scotty Young says in the foreword, he says that a good cover artist or a good cover should have a visual narrative and a strong concept. Anything if a cover doesn't have that, then it's just like a pinup of the character. And he goes on to say that you've got that like in spades. And I co-sign it, man. Going through this book, there are covers that I know I've looked at 100 times, but I think what this book also spotlights is the replayability of your covers. That you can go back to some of them and you're catching new things. For example,
Okay.
I brought up that Electra series, which is one of my favorite series. On Electra issue 3, I think it's her swimming in a cave. And at first, it's like, oh, this is a really cool concept. But I don't know how I missed that she's swimming in a psi shaped, like underwater cave tunnel while also holding a psi. It was like just like a double entendre going on here. So yeah, I think the replayability is
Double
really high.
entendre. Yeah, that's crazy.
There's a
It's like
lot
in,
of
it's like Inception, that kind of Inception thing.
yeah. Was there any, I guess, in during the process of trying to slim down and make the selections for the book, what was one or two that you knew you had to add that might have like had a special spot, personal spot in your heart that you're like, this has got to make it?
The Mystique cover for sure. And the any of the X-Men Legacy covers, because like I was like, I need to put all these covers in there just because I think that was like my jumping off point.
For sure. I think
I
I
was
think a lot of I think it's safe to say a lot of people. I think you became a household name with those like X Men Legacy covers. I think it's real safe to say. Like that
Yeah,
put
like
I think that put you on the map for sure.
yeah, I was already doing a lot of covers before that series, but for some reason X-Men Legacy, I don't think I've done anything topically the same as that since. Not to say that like I haven't done anything weird, but X-Men Legacy was just crazy weird and it was like perfect timing for me. And like the funny thing too is like I almost like I actually declined the work because I was getting married at that time and it was all overlapping. So I remember telling Daniel Ketchum at the editor, "Man, I can't take this job." And I didn't know what to expect with this book. I thought it was just going to be a regular like let's just do X-Men stuff, iconic, you know, looking covers, stuff like that. But it became like my own thing, and I was really able to flourish and like put all my thoughts and like ideas into these books. So yeah, it was special. And then after that, it just seemed like all the editors were like coming at me like, yeah, do this cover and do it, do whatever you need to do with it.
Oh, that's cool. So
They
you got
weren't
like,
like, they were never hands on. They were just like, yeah, we trust you. So that's what I mean about the jumping off point, is that from then on it was like, I was able to just kind of work my brain, and they trusted it.
yeah, I think that we what's go back with Scotty said, that visual narrative and like that concept. I definitely think you've got those two things in spade, and it's kind of like your signature. Like aside from like the visual aesthetic
Mhm.
of your work, I think you've mentioned before like that you have like this dry ice effect that kind of makes your work stand out.
Mm.
But I also think it's the I think it's I think it's like that concept. Like your signature, aside from the visual look, it's like there's always going to be a dope concept. And even if you don't get it at first, there's something there, and maybe you just got to study a little more. Like I mentioned, like the double entendres. I do like catching like how certain things have like double meaning. You brought up the X-Men Legacy covers you've done, and there's one I had never seen before,
Mhm.
and I spent, I swear, like a good 15 minutes just on this one page. But it's the cover where it's Legion sitting and he's being painted, but like the way that the artist is holding the paintbrush from this first person point of view, like the way that you play around with Legion's like high top. It's like,
Yeah.
man, so much things are going on. How difficult is it? I guess how difficult is a cover like that where there's a lot of different, like you're almost breaking like the fourth wall, and you got all these Easter eggs. Is there one cover in particular that you remember being really difficult to nail, like a concept like that?
You mean like after the idea is done, or just coming up with the idea?
I guess both. Yeah. Now that you bring it up, what's been the most challenging cover to come up with an idea for? And then I guess what's been the most challenging one to actually execute?
I found like X-Men Legacy for sure was like, in terms of ideas,
Hmm.
there's nothing really challenging about it, just the subject matter and this person made it so easy to like come up with like so many ideas. I think it gets challenging when there's not much, like I need a story, some sort of background, some sort of lore in order to like conceptualize certain ideas to get my brain going. Sometimes if it's just like, it's hard to explain, but I would say, okay, there's one cover I've done that's just like an iconic cover, and I love it just because of the movement and the energy, and like I just focused on the colors and just the dynamism of it.
Hmm.
But there's no idea process in it. That was the Beta Ray. There's a Beta Ray Bill cover I did.
Looking this up on my side.
Yeah.
Okay, so Beta Ray Bill, issue
Mhm.
3, yeah, issue 3, volume 1, issue 3. This
Yeah.
is a very, it's got like like the signature color palette of yours, and once again that dry ice effect.
And there was not much, like it was a variant cover, and I guess the story hadn't come out yet,
Hmm.
and it was Beta Ray Bill, and I was like, I can't think of anything for this. So that was the one cover that like was tough, just tough to
Hmm.
kind of work an idea around. I'm sure I could have, but like, I guess I was also in the zone of like, I just want to do something cool sometimes, like just
Yeah,
like a nice cool pose.
a good splash page, a
Um,
good pinup. Yeah.
so like, I can't think about like how tough it is to come up with ideas, because most of the time as soon as I start sketching, the ideas just come. Um, but that's what I can remember. One of the covers that I've done that's like not as conceptual driven.
Got it, got it. Can
Yeah.
I say, apparently someone appreciated this cover, and just air quotes here, the simplicity of it. I think simplicity only because we're talking about you, and this is maybe the most straightforward cover out of all of the ones. But apparently it was they used this cover art for a Marvel Snap card. By the way, they use it
But
for
yeah,
a
yeah,
Beta Ray Bill. That's right
that
up.
was nice. That was nice. And
Yeah.
it might be the only cover with Beta or Bill with 5 fingers. I made that
Whoa! Wait,
mistake, bro.
1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I got to make sure that Vigo, we can't release this episode until I make sure I buy this comic, so that way before it goes up in the speculation.
I was
That's
like, oh
dope.
shit. I think I remember I think I found out and I was like, it's just too late. It's already printed. I
Mhm.
can't go back.
Yeah. Can I pivot here real quick? Because I'm thinking about something, a quote I read from you in an article. You were talking about like looking back at your old art and how that can kind of be difficult at times when
Hmm.
if it's old art, and how you can be maybe a little hypercritical about it because you've progressed and you've improved as an artist, or you should be improving as an artist, right?
Yeah.
So the art always has room to improve, but the art always has room to improve as time goes on. But you said something to the effect of a good idea is timeless. So even though some of your older art might not be your strongest artistically, the concept and the ideas are usually like good enough to where it's it feels timeless. Do you think that's still true in this case? And I guess how is the
Yeah.
exercise, what was it like, I guess, going back through some of like your, like you said, like some of your first major covers for Marvel? Like, did you have any of those feelings? Were you hypercritical at times? Like, did you look at anything and you were like, yeah, I've come a long way?
Yeah. All the time.
Hmm.
Like even stuff I did last year, I'm like, oh man, I don't like that. Like
Yeah.
it's just the curse of an artist. We just keep getting better. And I
Yeah.
guess that's a good sign that you're getting better and your eyes are getting better and your draftsmanship is getting better and this and that. So I do all the time go back to things and I'm just like, I cringe.
Hmm.
But then there's times where like it all depends. Like if I'm in a good mood, I look back at my stuff and I'm like, yeah, this stuff's awesome. You know what I mean? If I'm in a negative mood,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, all this stuff
Yeah.
is shit. Like just
Yeah.
throwing coffee all over it.
One day you're like,
Um,
I'm the
yeah,
shit. Other days you're like, I'm shit.
yeah. But like, I remember when I first got my first gig at Marvel,
Hmm.
and even to that around that time, I didn't have that confidence that like I was good at this. I felt like I was a hack. I was just figuring things out, and I felt like I just kind of lucked out. Like I somehow fooled them into getting me this job,
Yeah.
and with all that in mind, the one thing that I took from, because I was working in design before comics, it was like a transition. Like when I was doing my first covers, I was still working at a design firm, doing all that. So what I remember uh, saying to myself was like, when I start working on these covers, I want to do what I was doing in design, taking whatever I learned there and then applying it into comic books. So um, yeah, the main thing was like I always wanted to do the concepts, and I was like, I was like, yeah, I might be a shitty drawer, but like you said,
That's
like
okay.
the ideas are there. So if
Yeah.
I can fool people into just looking at that, like focusing on the
Hmm.
idea, and it's kind of like a magician, right? You just kind of fool people into like whatever you're doing in the background, and then they don't
Yeah.
even notice what's happening,
Sleight of
right?
hand. Yeah.
So focus on the idea, and everything else they'll probably think is great.
Yeah.
So that's what that's always been the goal, is like concepts for me and
Smart.
ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you just a random question. What's the last comic cover that you've seen out in the wild recently? Whatever comes to mind that really impressed you. Because we're talking about all these incredible covers that you've done that are collected in this art book. What's the last cover that done by someone else that you've seen that you're like, wow, that stopped you in your tracks?
Hmm. There's so many, man. Uh
Or maybe is there a particular artist that you're maybe always checking out for their cover work?
uh there's like 50 artists. I just drawing blanks. Whenever I'm on a podcast, I'm drawing blanks on these
It
things.
happens. It always happens.
um let me think about
There,
it, and
there,
I'll
there.
I'll I'll,
You
I'll
can stop me.
spit
Word.
game. The one cover that I recently saw, not even recent, like this was years ago, but it's always been in my mind. And I guess that's the first thing that came to mind when you asked that, was Ryan Stegman's cover of, I don't even know what issue book it is,
Hit
but
me.
it has
I'll bet you I can find
Cyclops
it. Okay.
beaming on like
Oh,
a
is he doing?
circle of,
Yes, yo.
yeah.
That one. Hold on, let me see if I could find that one. That cover is so fucking cool. Speaking, I'm gonna see if I can find the exact number, but I was I walked into my comic shop one day, and Ben goes, "Have you seen the previews for next whatever?" It was like 3 months out. He's like, "Have you seen the previews for the next issue of X-Men?" I was like, "No." I'm like, he shows me the cover, and it's. I was like, "How come no one has ever thought of that?" Like Cyclops, like kind of doing
Yeah,
a spin of his blast. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's like the I wish I thought of that cover.
Okay. Oh my god. Like it was
Yeah,
the first thing that popped. I typed in Ryan Stegman Cyclops cover. First thing that pops up. It's
yeah.
X-Men issue 10, which I think came out maybe 2 years ago or something like that. Man. Yeah, it's a great cover.
It's yeah. It hits right away,
Hmm.
and it's like fuck. Like, why hasn't anyone thought of that? Like, why hasn't anyone thought of just like even the way he swished like
Hmm.
the beam? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
that's fucking cool.
that's
And
a
like, and then the second person that comes to mind is who you've been referring to throughout this interview, Scotty Young. You know, that guy's great ideas as well.
yeah. I feel like Scotty Young brings, and I think it's on purpose too. I don't think it's crazy to say like this comic strip Calvin and Hobbes energy to all of his
Hmm.
covers, and it always stops me in my tracks in the sense of I'm always looking for the punchline. I'm always reading the dialogue and like what's the joke, what's the quip, and
Yeah,
9 times out of 10 it's always landing. I'm always like, damn, that's a really funny way to like break the fourth wall. He's always got like a meta commentary on the character or the industry. Yeah, yeah,
but yeah,
he's just great.
he's got great concepts, and
So
he's got a
many.
few of those. I wish I thought of that kind of covers. So shout
That's
out
dope.
Scotty, man.
Big
Yeah,
shout out to Scotty Young. All right, Mike. So once again, I want to say that the Marvel art of Mike Del Mundo will be shipping to Kickstarter backers, I guess, here in the next couple of weeks. Like we said in the beginning, you guys got the printer proofs. Next up is production, shipping, and all of that. But there is going to be a direct market release later this summer. I guess people can be on the lookout for that. If I was you, I'd go to your comic shop right now and tell them to put this book on your pull. I'd see this. I can see this being a sellout for sure. All right, which brings me, Mike. I want to shift gears to some more stuff that you got coming out. I think this is for Mike Del Mundo fans. This is like a great year. Like we're eating good. We're getting the Marvel art book. We got the sketchbook that'll be coming out, and then we're finally getting your Three Worlds, Three Moons stuff. We're getting a one shot later in July, the Foundation, and then we're getting the Shift in September. As someone who has been asleep on this Three Worlds, Three Moons stuff, only because I was like, I don't feel like making another subscription with Substack. God bless him, though. I am so excited it's getting a general release because all of the hype I've heard about it, that people who are actually, have been with the Substack and been following along, it's like, they can't even explain what it's like, what it is. They're like, bro, it's an experience. So I went on the Three
oh, that's
Worlds,
cool.
Three Moons Substack
Yeah,
yesterday, and I'm like, I thought I was just looking for a comic. You guys have a web store, an app, like in terms of like infusing technology with comics. You guys are doing it right. There's no way I can explain
that's
it
great
other
to
than
hear.
I think people need to just go on the Three Worlds, Three Moons Substack and just spend some time perusing. But in your words, what is the Three Worlds, Three Moons? I know it's sci-fi, it's fantasy. Jonathan Hickman is involved, which was enough for me. It's like Hickman and Del Mundo, sign me the fuck up. What can people expect? What is the story behind
Man, I'm gonna ruin this one, man.
it?
Jonathan should be explaining this, or
Yeah.
even Nick. Um, but I'm gonna try.
If I can jump in and say, big shout outs once again to Jason. He sent me a preview of Shift. I didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to get around to Foundation, so I read Shift, which, like I said, doesn't come out till September, and I could not exactly tell you what it's about, but I know that it is beautifully drawn. It
Hmm.
feels epic. It feels like I just got thrown into like this insanely massive world that's been there for years, and I think that might be on purpose, that you guys are kind of like working backwards, or a lot of things will be revealed.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, like I can feel the ambition, like the ambition of like, hey, let's really build out this well thought out world, and you got the right team for it.
Okay, so now I remember.
There we
It's
go. I bought
basically
you enough time. Hit
yeah.
it.
So like all the stories that you've talked about, like Shift and Foundations,
Hmm.
like you said, it jumps back and forth into different times, right? Just that's just how Nick and Jonathan have kind of weaved this thing together, and it somehow all comes together. Um, but when we first started Three Worlds, Three Moons, it was like almost like prepping people for the main story. So that's like 3 years of us doing that
It's been 3
through.
years.
Yeah, it's been three
Wow.
years. So if you go on like the Substack site, um, like you said, you saw like we've done a whole. We have an app
Yeah,
where
it's
you
not
can
just comics
actually.
anymore.
Yeah, we have an app where you can read all the stories that we have.
Hmm.
We have a ton of stories. We've done like a book with Steve Epting and Jonathan Hickman called The Academy. Um, Jerome Opina has done some books. There's like a whole
Wow.
bunch of artists
Huh.
that have
I've been like missing
partook in like.
out. Like you
Well, because it's online, and like I
Mhm.
realize what's cool about it is like it's kind of cool when people say I've been missing out, because it's like, well, now like you can just jump into this world. Like it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
3 years of it, but it's cool that we've been able to survive off like 3 years of
Yeah,
making
that's a
this
good point.
stuff
Hmm.
without even people under like most people knowing it. We just have the community,
Sure.
right? And that's kind of helped us, get to the next year, to the next year. And the coolest part of it is now everyone's going to get to see like what we've been working on, and like the true test of you know if people are going to like it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been amazing. And yeah, we I went off track about what this Three Worlds, Three Moons is about. But basically it's like, I guess the fight between magic and science. So in different worlds, let's say the book that I'm working on is Shift. It's basically the end of the magic cycle, right? And it's showing how like basically things start to shift into science. And like it's basically about a boy that grows up and he has to wake up the AI god, you know what I mean, the god machine.
Yeah.
And that would once the god machine is woken up, it's the shift towards science. So all these stories that we've played with, like Foundations, Shift, Academy, they all kind of play into those different cycles. Foundations is in the science cycle, and it's like whenever one is dominant, the other one almost becomes heretic.
Yeah.
Heretic.
Heretic. Yeah.
It's like
No, you
almost
got
like
it.
it's almost like blasphemy, right? So it just kind of like it just goes into these cycles, which allows us to kind of work with both genres. And I think that was like the main idea, is to kind of mix these genres together and be able to work on two things:
I will
fantasy
say
and sci-fi.
yeah, I will say your character designs in this, it feels like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it almost feels like you were given like free reign to just go all out for the character. Some of these, at least in the first chapter of Shift, man, I mean, it feels like you are diving in, you're digging into this fantasy bag that I don't think I've seen, and like that I've seen in some of your other work. I think the Marvel stuff is obviously you're dealing with like existing characters. We've seen the characters for years in so many different ways, but not like that much different. But then I look at what you've done in Shift, and it's like, holy shit, he's digging into something else. I mean, is that how you feel?
Yeah, yeah. This book's actually exactly what I was trying to do with like Weird World, with like
Hmm,
all the past books that I've
that's a
done.
good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, even Thor, like just like the way I apply the colors and this
Hmm.
and this and that. My big One of my favorite movies, actually, like I guess top five movies, is Secret of Nim.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So
Yeah.
eh, it's always like Secret of Nim is always kind of like the reference to everything I do, in terms of color, in terms of mood, in terms of like just the feeling of it all. And the only thing missed, like I was trying to do that with like Weird World and like all those past books. The only thing that was missing was like these anamorphic characters.
Yeah.
So Shift is, you know, what kind of drove that. And like I was able to really do my version of like my Secret Nim version of yeah, my favorite movie. So that's that's Shift in a half show.
Can I also say that you are also, it feels like diving into like kind of like your Kirby bag in the sense of in the first chapter of Shift, there's a lot. I mean, like you said, you were dealing with science and magic, but on the science side, some of the machines that you're drawing in the background, the technology feels very kind of Kirby esque, where it's like larger than life, complex looking. Like, can you talk a little bit about like where you're drawing inspiration from in terms of like references or things like that?
Yeah, for sure. Like Kirby, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, Kirby and just like I guess it's like a mix of Kirby and even like 90s comics because that's what I grew up with. And I don't
Yeah.
think I could ever that can ever like I can never get away from it, you know? Like just like the tech that the exaggerated tech back in the 90s, you
Hmm.
know? So it's like a mix of that and trying to kind of stray away from that and like add like more realistic tech, more Kirby tech, more simplified tech, stuff like that. So I think all those together encompasses what I was doing with Shift.
Yeah. I think trying to it sounds like trying to dilute what Three Worlds, Three Moons is into like a one sentence or one podcast episode is definitely not enough because there's a phrase that I keep seeing online when used to describe it where it's I think it was actually on this Popverse article. They had a part it said, no, not just a single comic or a single series. We're talking about an entire universe to tell stories. And we're finally getting like the physical debut of these comics, start in July and so forth. So to go back what you were saying about how it's been impressive for y'all to be like, we're 3 years in, we've got all these stories. I had no idea someone like Steve Epting and Jerome Pena were doing stuff. Like it feels like
Yeah.
you guys have
Jerome
been
was actually the first one of the first artists to do like
oh, okay.
the stories, yeah.
Okay, I have got a lot to catch up with, and I
Yeah.
think that's what makes it exciting. That I know that this existed over here, but I've been so
Yeah.
preoccupied over here that it feels like, man, I can't wait to get into that club. And you guys are opening the doors, like, hey, here's what we've been. Speaking about Hickman, I think that's been his whole premise with like the whole Ultimate Universe is that like someone like the Maker's been asleep for a year, and in 1 year he's gonna come back out, and he's got like all these. You're like, what has he been up to? It feels like I'm seeing the real world version of that. So I will say, if you could have told me, matter of fact, I could have went into this conversation not knowing that Hickman did this book. And the way you described it, I would have just said, so Hickman's writing it, like in terms of like the world building. I did flip through Foundation just a little bit. And once I saw the infographics, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a blockbuster event.
It's a lot to it's there's a lot and there's a lot that we've built and it's just the beginning. It's literally like everything that we've done for 3 years is stories that talk about the universe. It's not even the main story. It's just getting you familiar with like the religion of like how transportation works, how the world works, like how everything. It's like you're getting an encyclopedia of basically our world building encyclopedia of Three Worlds, Three Moons. So that once you get into the main story, you're just familiar with like everything that's happening in this world. Like
Sure.
you're immersed. So that's what we were trying to do for the first 3 years. And then now we're moving towards the main storyline.
Man, this is, I mean,
Yeah.
just hearing you talk about it, this sounds like the type of book, the type of series that for people that love like getting into the nooks and crannies and guides and it sounds like almost like a comic book meets like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Like how they'll explain.
It really is. It really
Hmm,
is. It is
I can
very
only.
detailed. Even for me,
Yeah.
like I'm still learning about the world. You know, like
I think
I'm
that's
I
awesome. We're
you
on
know
the
when
journey with you, Mike.
yeah when me and Huddleston are working on like you know concepts and ideas and
Mhm.
storylines and covers. I'm going into those books and like rereading certain things because there's so much involved in it that I don't even know everything involved in like
I
these
gotta
worlds.
I
Yeah.
gotta know has what I can only imagine. Let me take a step back. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Joshua Williamson about how far in advance he plans, and he's like, if you could see my whiteboard right now, it's like filled with stuff. I imagine that on steroids times 100 for someone like Hickman, and especially maybe for this. Has he ever shown you guys like does he have a Bible? He looks like the type to have like a Bible, a book about the book itself or a giant whiteboard. I can only imagine what his notes look like.
It's all in his head, man. So
Get out of here.
I'm
That's
sure the
crazy.
Bible is he's like Jay-Z, man. Like the Bible's in his head.
Mm. I was trying to sip water. That's funny. That's great. All right. I
I
can't
don't
wait to
know.
look.
I've never seen like I don't know if I've ever seen him with like a Bible, like a notebook. But when he just sits down and he just talks ideas. So like it's all in
That's dope.
there. Yeah.
That's dope, man. Yeah, you've got by the way, you've got a solid team behind. I mean, Hickman, Huddleston, you mentioned Epting, Opinia. Who else are you working with? Anyone else?
Well, the four guys, the four main guys is Jonathan Hickman,
Hmm.
Mike Huddleston, Nick Spencer,
That's
and
right, Nick
me.
Spencer.
Yeah. And
That's
Nick
dope.
is actually kind of like the mastermind of like how everything's working in behind the scenes. So he's like making things happen with stories with Jonathan, and he's also making things happen with everything else, like
Hmm.
the app, like
Dang.
all the background stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's
Impressive,
the
man.
mover. Yeah.
I can't wait. Look, this won't be the last question or time we talk about Shift or Foundation or Three Worlds, Three Moon in general. But Mike, I want to get into our next segment. It's one of my favorite segments of the show. It's called the Short Box Friends and Family segment. It's where I shut up for a little bit and let someone else ask the question. All right, I let other friends and family chime into the conversation. And I got to say, when I put out the word to the Short Box Nation that I was going to have you on the show, submit some voicemails, submit some questions for Mike. I think I've never gotten this many responses. So I tried to whittle it down to four really good ones. And I've got two voicemails and then two questions. All right. We're going to start off with a voicemail from Ben Kingsbury. All right. He's the owner of he's the owner of my local comic shop, Gotham City Limit Comic Shop. And when he heard you'd be on the show, he had a good question lined up. So let's hear from Ben.
Hey, Mike, Ben K from Gotham City Limit. Thanks so much for taking some time to jump on this podcast, answer a question real quick. It's like, first off, congratulations on the new art book. It's got to be a surreal moment and an awesome achievement to have accumulation of all of your artwork in one single hardcovers. That's got to be great. That's kind of where my question stems from. You've been doing artwork for Marvel for a very long time. Now you're jumping into some DC covers with Flash, Lobo, DCKO. How has that transition worked with your style? And have you had any interesting stories tied to having to look up new information about some new characters you've never worked on before? I'll leave you here to answer. Seriously, thank you so much for everything you do. We couldn't do it without you. And remember, Short Box Nation, we'll always take it to the limit. Peace.
Hey, big shout outs to Ben.
Yeah. So the question is
Yeah, what's it been like working on the DC? Like these are the first, because I mean these DC covers, you've been cranking them out. I mean, I feel like every week
yeah,
there's a new Mike Mundo, DC cover, whether it's DCKO or Absolute Flash or regular Flash, Flash, Wonder Woman. This is your first.
Clayface. Yeah.
This is your first time doing DC covers, right?
Yep. This is my first. This is
Wow.
like I started off with the Flash, and yeah, I've only done about like 20 covers.
Damn, that's still a lot.
So it's new, and it's like I think it's like the right time to be working on it too, because DC's really
They're having a
exciting right
moment.
now,
Hell yeah.
and working with the others has been amazing. So what's it like working at DC? It's been good.
What
Like
about?
I think it's like pretty good transition of like just the way I work on this my concepts and just the way I do covers. It's been a good transition. They're pretty
Has it
hands
been?
off.
Has it been a one for one transition in terms of like how you normally approach covers and finding the concept and then actually doing the work? Like, have you had to change your style or approach any dealing with a different set of characters?
Um, no, it's been pretty much the same. I mean, I always thought that because I've always been a Marvel guy. You know what I mean? Like I grew up reading Marvel. I mean, aside from a couple Batman books, but most of my books were like X-Men and Spider-Man. And DC was kind of like it was there, but like I was never like a DC guy. But like working on the books surprisingly has like been really fun. I think it's just I guess like it's a nice change of
Yeah.
drawing new characters. And I've been doing drawing for Marvel for 15 years, so it's just a nice, breath of fresh air, I guess, working on like new characters. And working on the absolute characters is pretty hella fun too.
Yeah. They're giving you like free RAM. I'm scrolling. You made a post 2 days ago, and you made it like a compilation of all the DC covers you've done so far. And I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like you're having a lot of fun doing the Flash covers. There's one in particular. I don't know what issue number this is, but it's the pinball cover. It's like Flash and a pinball machine, and you got all these DC references. Like, who's been your favorite character to like play around with and work on?
Right now I'm working on Clayface. That's pretty fun. It kind of reminds me of like the X-Men Legacy
Hmm.
themes that I'm working with, just because he's just like this hunk of clay,
Yeah, yeah,
and
he's
he's so
malleable.
malleable, and you can kind of interweave him into like different things, and so there's a lot of stuff room to play with.
Hmm.
The Flash was fun, but like he's the Flash, so it's like that took some like brain power just to figure out what I'm going to do with it, like the
Yeah.
ideas I was going to put into it. So I would say the Flash.
Damn.
Um,
Well, like I said in
I
the
mean, not the
beginning,
Flash, Clayface. Yeah, sorry.
word.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good time for Clayface considering, the trailer just came out. James Gunn has been hyping it up. The movie will be here later this year. I think those covers, man, I
Yeah,
think it's,
I did. I
yeah,
did a
it's
cool.
a good
I did a
time.
cool Superman cover that hasn't come out yet.
I'll
I
be
think
on the
that's gonna be
lookout.
fucking cool. Yeah,
I can't wait. I'll be on the lookout.
yeah.
Okay, big shout out to Ben. That was our first voicemail. I got another voicemail for you. And I'll reveal who this is at the end. I'm gonna see if you can recognize his voice. You guys have worked together before, but I'll leave it a surprise. All right, here we go.
Yo, what's up, everybody? My man Botter, Shortbox Nation. How are y'all doing? Deadly Mike, what's up, bro? So my question is, Mike, you've spent a lot of your career working in an industry where you've played with other people's creations. You've had to operate in other universes and mess with other characters that were created by creators from the past and kind of handed down story after story, book after book. But with Three Worlds, Three Moons, that creative shoe is on the other foot, so to speak. You and Jonathan Hickman and Mike Huddleston are creating your own world, creating your own characters, and then bringing in outside creators to fill out those worlds and expand those universes. What's it like operating like that? What's it like being on the other side of that coin where you are letting go a little bit of that creative control and letting people build out the universe of Three Worlds, Three Moons? Hope everybody takes care. I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Peace.
Mike, I'll go ahead and just ruin the surprise. That was Zach Norris. All right, he works at
Oh
Now or
shoot,
Never.
Zach. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
realized, I realized, I just realized he never said his name in the voicemail, and I should have told him, hey, at least mention your name so you get credit. But that was Zach Norris. He works at Now or Never Comics in San Diego. He's also the creator of an incredibly dope hip hop and comic book zine called Cream. Comics rule
Hmm.
everything up around me. He also, you two both had an interview for the website Sketched, I think last year. It was one of the longest
Yes. Yeah.
interviews I had ever read from you. It was really insightful. So that was Zach
Shout
asking
out
you
Zach.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, big shout out to Zach. So he's asking about what it's like getting to work on Three Worlds, Three Moons, make your own characters, work on your own character, your own world, your own legacy. What do you think?
I think it's really cool. Like, I that's the first time I've ever like designed original characters. I did a few like like for Weird World and like here and there, but like creating a world and like designing them and seeing them being drawn by like other artists was really cool. Like I'd rather see that than me doing it myself.
I didn't even
You
think
know?
about that. So you're saying like you've designed? Is it safe to say you've designed all the characters for Three World, Three Moon?
Yeah. Me and Mike Huddleston,
Okay.
we go half and half,
And then you're
and we
saying someone like Steve Epting and Jerome Pena are doing their interpretations and working off of your designs in books.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's really cool. It's just the process is just really cool. Like it's like we'll do our initial designs, and then they'll interpret it different, and then like that character will kind of it's kind of cool because that character will evolve into what they've drawn, and then other artists will draw what they've drawn, their interpretations, and it just like it's kind of like Broken Telephone, where like this character ends up like, you know, looking totally different, but it's just cool just seeing the evolution of it. You know, like we
Yeah.
have a character that is a stag, and they call him the White Stag. This is our main character actually. He's like our R2D2 of like our universe, named Sig. And because he's the White Stag, when I designed him, I designed him as a like a white stag.
It's in the name.
And I guess like communication wise, we just kind of we're in our studios, and we just drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Sig as the White Stag when he's younger, but eventually, like, as when you see this story, the older version of Sig is brown. And I think it's just like kind of like this, people are just interpreting it different. And like, I guess in terms of like coloring it and this and that. So it's just cool to see the evolution of this character go from like how I started it to how it is now.
Man,
And like, I don't think anyone has any problems with it. We're just kind of just like, yeah, okay, cool, go for it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, man, I love hearing this collaborative nature of what y'all got going on. You know, like it's hard to define. It feels more like an experience. Like you got to experience Three Worlds, Three Moons. It feels like what you guys are tapping into is like ahead of its time. I think in a couple of years we'll look back and be like, I think it'll either influence a lot of, I think it has the potential to influence a lot of new creators to try something like this, where you guys are like building out, I don't know, just redefining what it means to have like a creator owned comic and a, you know, a creator owned universe. I think there's something really special going on here from an outsider looking in. You know, I'm just saying it from like someone that hasn't even dived in all the way. So it's cool to hear that, you know, all you guys are like, yeah, we're just making great comics, and it's a, you know, like there's no ego, it sounds like.
Yeah, I believe when Jonathan first brought up the idea of Three Worlds, Three Moons, he wanted to be like a real collaboration, like a mixtape, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He said it in a different way, but it's basically like us just freestyling. Like we're in a cipher and we're freestyling. That's what I would explain it to, and it would just be like, you go at it, I'll go at it, you do what you got to do with it, then I'll take it, I'll do something, bring it back to you. And that's how we've been doing it, like just going back and forth. And there hasn't really been like yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. I was kind of thinking of this character looking like this, or I was kind of thinking of this story. It's almost like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I'll write to that, you know?
Yeah. Like a jam
And
band,
then
almost.
yeah,
Like a free
exactly.
form jazz band.
That's more like what he was talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Big shout outs to Zach. Awesome question. These next two I've got, they were sent in via email, via text. So this other question comes from a member of the Shortbox Patreon community. Big shout outs to Jerome Cabanatan. He writes, as a fellow Filipino Canadian artist, I've got some things I'd love to hear Mike speak on. Primarily, were there any small turning points, decisions, or connections that gave you unexpected opportunities in your career that you didn't see prior? Also, shout out to you for always being open, approachable, and supportive whenever I catch you walking Artist Alley. Jerome Cabanatan.
So he was asking like, has there been
Yeah,
like
were there any small turning points, decisions, or connections that gave you unexpected in your careers that you didn't see prior?
I don't really understand the question.
I would say, how could I reword this? Is there any small? I guess when you look back on your career, were there any moments that like changed the trajectory of your career that like in the moment you didn't see, but like looking back, you're like, oh wow, had that not happened, it wouldn't have led to this X, Y, and Z?
The one thing I could think about is like I discussed before is X-Men Legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually declined the X-Men Legacy job, and I remember Daniel Ketchum being like, "No, you need to do this. You need to do this." Because I think I remember before that, before the X-Men Legacy gig, I did this Punisher cover. Actually, this is shout out Scotty again, because I think this is really what kind of helped propel me to getting more gigs over at Marvel and getting, eyes on me. Scotty did this Punisher, the Untold Stories of Punisher, Punisher Max, I would say. And it was a one shot by Scotty Young. And Scotty wanted me to do the cover, and Daniel was involved in that. Or was it Daniel? I'm not sure. But, anyways, it was like a cover of a kid with like two super soakers, and then he's casting the shadow of the Punisher.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that cover was on, like, after I put that cover out, I had like 3 or 4 editors just hitting me up for covers.
Wow.
And yeah, and from there, X-Men, the X-Men Legacy gig came, and then I wasn't gonna take it, but then Daniel was like, "No, you got to take this," and I'm like, "Okay, cool, I'll do it, whatever." So I guess that example is like an example of,
I think that's a prime example.
If that didn't work out for me, maybe my path would have been totally different.
I guess, like, had you declined, have you really been like, hey, I really just can't do this X-Men Legacy. I'm getting married. It's a lot right now. What do you think would have been the next, like, would there have been another gig? Was there another, you mentioned like multiple editors hit you up after this Punisher Max cover, which, by the way, for anyone curious, it's Untold Tales of the Punisher #5, written by Scotty Young. And you're right, it is Daniel Ketchum was the editor on this.
Yeah.
I guess, was there any other, what other editors hit you up? Was there another, like, maybe title that you would have hopped on instead of X-Men Legacy?
At that time, I think that was like my first like run of covers. I might be wrong, but I believe that's my first run of covers. So when I was getting hit up, it was just for like, covers here and there. Got one cover here and one there.
So X-Men Legacy was like, hey, this is a stable, a multi-issue gig going on right here.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
And it, like, the difference with that book is, like, I didn't know what to expect with it. Like, I didn't even know that I would be making those kinds of covers for that book. So it was like a cool, like, evolution. Like, I was like, oh shit, this is what I do all the time. I could do this. They're like, yeah, do it with this book, Yeah,
it's like the perfect book to do it, considering like the character, the premise, like, just how kind of meta that series ended up being. That's cool. All right, so that was Jerome Cabanatan. Big shout out to Jerome, by the way. He is, like you said, he's a Filipino-Canadian cartoonist. He makes some really awesome kung fu martial arts action comics. One's called Tree versus Fox, and then he's got an all-ages one called The ABCs of Haya, which I think is awesome.
Okay, I know Jerome now. Yeah.
So,
shout out Jerome.
All right, and then last but not least, I got one more question from the Short Box Nation. This one comes from Jeff Fremid. Right before I hit record, he hit me up. He was like, I got a question for Mike. Please let me submit it. So big shout out to Jeff. He wrote in and said, okay, it's a scenario question. It's the 1980s going into the 90s. What are your top 5 hip hop groups and why? And his definition of a group is 2 or more people. Now, I want to alter his question, because knowing what we talked about earlier about Sanford Green and the age disparity, and then also the age difference, and then where you started hip hop. Let me alter his question. It's the 1990s going into the 2000s. What are your top 5 hip hop groups, or just acts in general?
Top 5 hip hop groups. Mobb Deep. Tribe, obviously Tribe Called Quest. Slum Village. Dang. Top 5 hip hop groups.
There's one you haven't
named yet. This is like duos or like
2
full
or more
groups?
2 or more.
Oh, 2 or more. Okay. Yeah, Wu-Tang. Souls of Mischief, man.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's more that I missed. Like,
all right, there's one that I was waiting for you to say. Farside. I know that you are a huge Farside fan.
Farside, yes.
Which, by the way, I'm gonna recommend. I'm gonna go off script here and recommend to you a mix. I'll send you this mixtape via email. There is a mixtape by, who did this mixtape? Is this J Period? I don't want to flub it up, but there is a blend tape called Bizarre Tribe: A Quest to the Far Side, where they I'm pretty sure it's J period, but I don't want to misquote, where they take a Tribe Called Quest samples and beats, reinterpolate them, and then they put Far Side lyrics to it. And when I tell you, it is one of the most solid blend tapes I've ever heard. You know what I'm saying? It's like combining two of the best groups of all time, Tribe and Far Side. I'll send it to you. I think you'll
I gotta check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it out.
And I guess real quick, I guess on the topic of hip hop, if you don't mind, one of the things I've been dying to ask you, because when we talked last year in August, you had hinted at something big coming along, but I think it was too early. And then, October hits, New York Comic Con comes around, Mass Appeal drops big news that they're teaming up with Marvel. They're putting out this comic called Legend Has It. They're, reimagining, rap icons like Nas, Slick Rick, and Mobb Deep as superheroes. Sanford Green is doing the cover. It goes crazy at New York Comic Con. I was there. Nas shows up at New York Comic Con. They have a giant panel. Rob Markman is hosting it. Raekwon is there. De La Soul is there. Sanford Green is on the panel. And it's like, wow, this is the pinnacle of hip hop and comics. And then shortly after that, I think like a month or two later, they announced, guess what? We're doing variants for this issue. And we got a Mike Del Mundo variant of Nas and DJ Premier. The Light Year, was it Light Years Ahead? Is that the name of the album?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what was that? I mean, what was that experience like, getting the call from Mass Appeal? Which basically, everyone's been calling it Nas's company. I think, at this point, obviously there's a lot more players involved, but Nas is such the spearhead for it. What was that experience like, getting the call from Mass Appeal to work on a variant cover for like this pretty monumental comic at the time?
Yeah, it was incredible. It's like I grew up with literally like we talked before. My entry into hip hop was like from 1993 and up, so I grew up with Illmatic basically. Like Illmatic is like my top. It's got to be like my top two favorite albums. I would just say top one. Yeah, my favorite album basically.
You're like it's top two and it's not two.
It's in between. It's between Illmatic and the Infamous. So but yeah, man, that's a dream. Like every time those things happen, it's like it's a dream. And then then there's Nas, and then one of my favorite producers, man, DJ Premier.
Did you get a chance to like talk to Nas, to DJ Premier, about like any conceptual stuff or what the cover would look like, or your interpretation of their superhero characters?
No, just actually, like, shout out Sanford Green. He's the one that hooked up a lot of artists to get on those variant covers. So a lot of my dialogue was with Sanford, because he's the one that designed all the characters. He did all the character designs.
Mm-hmm.
So I took what he, some of his notes, but a lot of it is just trying to, just taking that energy from like me growing up in that era and understanding the character, like understanding Nas and Primo in that, and making sure I get their likeness properly, Yeah,
I think you'd know.
And yeah, so that it was pretty much just me and Sanford.
Yeah, that's dope. I know that. So they put out the variants, and then I guess the variants did so well, they were like, hey, we're also going to re-release all these albums that we've been put out as part of the Legend Has It with a variant cover for the vinyl. So I missed out on buying the Legend Has It comic variant, but I did end up scooping up the vinyl for Light Years album with your artwork, and I can't wait to have that. Like,
I can't wait to have it. I actually bought those too. I bought the vinyl, man. I'm like, yo, this is a variant version for this like an album. Like I'm on an album, like a Nas album. Oh my god, that's like.
I want you to keep that top of mind, because I've got something to show you when we wrap up. But with that being said, that is all the questions I've got for the Shortbox Friends and Family segment. Big shout out to everyone that submitted a question. Big shout outs to Ben. Big shout outs to Zach. Big shout outs to Jerome and Jeff. Mike, I've got one more question. Actually, I've got a ton more questions, but we've been going for a long time.
I can go if you need.
Okay, give me like 10 minutes when we wrap up. I want to do a special segment for you. That's visual heavy. So that's the only reason I won't record it. But
okay.
Last question to wrap us up. Where do you go from here, man? I mentioned that this is an interesting time to be a Mike Del Mundo fan. And I can only imagine just how interesting it is for you, the actual person. I mean, you're doing covers for DC, your first, DC gigs. I mean, all the covers have been looking amazing. You're working on a Superman one now. You got the Three Worlds, Three Moons stuff coming out in physical, making its physical debut next month. The art book is finally coming out. I mean, it feels like, I mean, it like I said, it's like a good time to be a Mike Del Mundo fan. Like we're getting to, I feel like, really see you like flex your creative muscles. I love the fact that there's a spotlight on you and all the great work that you've been doing. But like, I guess what's next for you personally? Like, do you have like an accomplishment in mind next, like a bigger goal? Because it feels like, like where do you go from here as a comic book artist? It feels like you've accomplished so much and you've done so much. What's next for you?
Yeah, it's been great, man. Like especially last year, being able to finally do like a Marvel art of book, that feels really special. And then working on like my favorite like hip hop artists, like it just feels like divine intervention, man. Like it's just like all my bucket lists are kind of out of the way.
Yeah, damn sure it
Um,
feels like it. Yeah.
so the only thing left is for me is like I do want to just start creating my own IPs, like creating my own stories, and I think that's the next move.
Now, like in a
I got a lot of
way,
ideas. Yeah.
like in a way that it's like bigger than like I'm hearing you say like through those three moons, like you're designing all the characters and all that. You're saying like completely something like separate.
Yeah. So like
Hmm.
obviously like that's it. Like that in its own is we're still working on like
Mm-hmm.
big stories for that. So we're moving on that, and I just have a lot of ideas, like a lot of story ideas, a lot of characters, a lot of stuff that's going in my head, and I would I would I wouldn't be happy if I didn't visit those,
Hmm.
before I turn 50. That's like my
Yeah,
goal
yeah,
is
yeah,
like by the time I get to the 50, I want to, there's a bunch of stuff I want to
yeah,
do and at least make something for myself, like
yeah.
just me.
If I can be so selfish, I think the one field genre medium that it would be dope to see more Mike Del Mundo artwork or representation is video games. I think your style would go really well in an animated sense or like a like some sort of like short form indie video game. I don't know why, but I think it's like the colors, the visual narrative, the concept, all the things that we've been talking about. Have you thought about maybe diving into a completely different medium at all?
That would be cool. I mean, like doing concepts for like video games has always been a dream. Like just doing conceptual art or even movies. But yeah, like my my one of my dreams is to just have my own book. That's as simple as it gets. You know, like I love the medium of comics, and I just love the having it in your hands, smelling it.
Yeah.
Smelling the pages, and I don't know. That just makes me happy.
No, looking reading through the art book with the sketchbook, I'm someone that will always champion like digital comics. I think they're convenient. I think as someone that has a room that is slowly closing in on them, like sometimes digital is the answer for things, but in this case, I can't wait to have the art book in my hand with the sketchbook. That is something that I want to have a tactile feel and to like compare the two. You can't quite do that with digital. It's a little more cumbersome. It's not the smooth process and it's not the same.
That
So I
was a
can't.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, like that was the reason why that book we created like the thumbnail book is we were we were kind of like battling with the idea of like putting them into the actual Marvel art of book,
Mm-hmm.
but there just wasn't enough space, and
No, that'd be
I
a
was kind of
monster book.
I was just being greedy. I was like, I want all my covers in there, you know. So I'm like,
No,
why don't we do a separate book and just add everything? So you got the book, you got like the big one, and then you have the
mm-hmm.
companion for all the tiny
Yeah, yeah.
sketches. But I feel
No,
like it's like a cool book to have for people that do what I do, like
yeah.
ideas,
You
like
know what?
yeah.
And actually, I want to end on this question. Considering that it is such an it literally is an art book, and then I think artists themselves, aspiring artists, established artists, etc., can take a lot from that book. What do you hope that like a young aspiring artist gets out of that book? Like they go into the shop, they have an opportunity to order the book, they're going through it. Like, what do you hope resonates with them the most?
I think it's just like, especially for that book, is a book of ideas, you know, and I feel like it helps you see what's possible. You know, there is a skill in terms of like coming up with ideas, like just a way to rework things. There's different skills involved in it. So hopefully that book, like, you know, is almost like a how to in terms of like how to come up with concepts, stuff like that. Help you on that road, you know.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And I think with that being said, I think this is a great place to end this conversation. Mike, you have been fantastic. Ladies and gents, this is the Short Box Podcast. And we just finished talking to Mike Del Mundo again. All right. This is consider like, look, this is part two of already a long part one episode from last year. But we just finished talking about his new art book that'll be coming out later this summer. Be on the lookout for it, all right? Be on the lookout for it. All right. It's called The Marvel Art of Mike Del Mundo. We've talked about Three Worlds, Three Moon. That's also coming out later this summer. Be on the lookout for Foundation. On the lookout for Three Worlds, Three Moons Shift later in September. We talked
Coming from
about
Dark Horse.
Yeah. And we've talked about, process. We've talked about family. We talked a lot. Hip hop, obviously. We talked about a lot. So with that being said, I'm gonna have links to Mike Del Mundo's social media, his Instagram, which is worthwhile to give a follow. I love anytime you post like the DC cover recap and all of that. I have a link to Mike's website, Substack, all that good stuff. It'll be in the episode description and show notes. Give Mike a follow. Be on the lookout for all these future projects and announcements. Mike, you've been great, and I hope that I don't think I've ever had someone on for a third time, but I'm hoping that you'll be the first.
I hope so too. I'll be back whenever you need me.
Done deal.
Thanks for having me, man.